episode of Every Other Friday Off. Last time here, we installed our new front mounted intercooler kit along with the ATM Fenderwell Intake. That video ran so long I said I'd split the testing into a second video. I initially thought I'd have that video out in about a week. How hard could it be? I was clearly faster. But here we are a month later, and I'm just now ready to maybe explain what happened. I've also moved up to the second and final stage of the Open Flash tablet tune, stage 2, so we'll be testing that. For the first time with this series, right after installing my new shiny parts, I went out, test drove, and declared myself fast. But the real answer is much more complicated. Never trust a butt dyno, or that's exactly where you'll get bit. Way back in November, I started this series of tests on my stock setup. On a relatively cold day, the 20 to 50 mile an hour wide open throttle time was about 4 3/4 of a second. After that, every time I made a power mod, I tested. I test second gear wide open throttle pulls because it's the most frequent type of acceleration on an autocross track. I adjusted my wastegate, did the boost leak mod, installed Alpha 4C coils, racing plugs, and the Open Flash Stage 1 tune, and I brought this time all the way down to 3 1/4 seconds on a cold day in February. So, with my new shiny front-mounted intercooler and fancy ATM Fenderwell Intake installed, it was time to test. The outside air is about 20 degrees hotter than the last time I tested, but my water temp and my intake air are almost identical. Huh? My hard work, my money, it lost me half a second? So at this point, I'd done the test, but I hadn't actually crunched the numbers, and my butt dyno was still telling me that I was the king of the world. So I went ahead and loaded up the Open Flash tablet Stage 2 tune. Remember, this takes a while, so it's a good idea to be on a battery tender when you do it. The process itself is about 40 minutes, so don't be in a hurry, and the engine needs to get up to temperature. Usually after loading a tune to test, I drive directly to the secret test track, which is just enough distance to warm up the engine. But the driving feel after this tune felt fantastic, and I couldn't help myself but to be ridiculous all over town. So after some ill-advised joyriding, I pulled into the test track with my intake air temperatures running about 15 degrees hotter and my water temperature running like 22 degrees hotter, which wasn't a great idea for testing. That's about the same as the Stage 1 tune, and it's still half a second slower than February. I'm not doing well. I know I messed myself up a couple of ways. The air temperature is different than February, and I drove all over town first. Still, I shouldn't be slower than February, and my butt dyno is not agreeing with the numbers. So it's time to get some real answers. I went to Driver Motorsports and was surprised with what I found. My tiny little town of Lynchburg, Virginia is already home to Sonny Leonard Racing, one of the premier drag engine builders. But apparently we're also home to a premier JDM importer and tuner. I pulled in expecting to find two guys in a garage working on a Civic, and I found a McLaren, an NSX, and Skylines as far as you could see. These guys didn't want anything to do with tuning a multi-air engine, but they were nice enough to let me get on their dyno and get some real numbers behind what kind of power I'm making. That yellow thing back there just made 700. Don't think I'll quite hit that. So I'm showing all wheel horsepower because that's what we measure, but if you want to do some math, you started out with 160 at the crank, and I'm rocking somewhere around 213 at the crank now. Those are actually pretty happy numbers, but let's take a closer look. Right around 4,700 RPM, there are two nasty dips, first in my torque curve, and then of course in my power curve. This may be showing me the limitation of what a mail-order tune can do. I believe the ECU is getting upset about something and cutting power right in the middle of my pull. Cleaning this up could yield significantly more power. More importantly, my air-fuel ratios are not good, especially as the engine heats up. I'm very lean at the bottom. This tells me that open flash stage 2 tune is not matching up with my hardware very well. The car feels fantastic for regular driving and really shines on the highway. But pull wide open throttle hard enough and it will start to stumble as it runs into protections put in place by the ECU. I don't know if this is a bad review for open flash tune or if it's more of a bad review for all preset tunes out there versus getting a tune custom for your car. Open Flash offers a custom tuning service remotely, and I think that's where I'm heading next, because I think if they cleaned up their tune a little bit for my car, I'd really be onto something. I don't want to end this with the last piece of data I've got affected so badly by me messing up the temperatures. So I waited for the coldest morning I could find and ran again. This time temperatures were in the 50s, everything was nice and cool. Yes, temperature does make a difference, and if we went back to February temperatures, I might be more in line with my earlier polls. So what have I learned? I'm very happy with my overall power numbers, but my tune is not ideal and there's a lot of room for improvement. My air-fuel ratios don't look good, and I'm running into hang-ups with the ECU. So I think the next step is to let Open Flash have a chance to try to remote tune the car specific to my hardware. Or if I win the lottery, I'll get a torque tune, an EC tune, and compare them all. I think I'm in custom tune territory regardless. All the off-the-shelf tuners are going to want to have that big power number. And as this shows, I've got a nice power number, but it's not delivering where I want it, the 20 to 50 mile an hour second gear pulls. At the end of the day, I can't draw any conclusion except for the fact that I put a lot of effort and a good bit of money into adding a front-mounted intercooler and a cool Fenderwell intake, and ultimately, in the area where I care about speed, I made my car slower. I don't think I've made a mistake though. I think I have the right hardware that when matched with the right tune is going to make my car fast where I want it. A special thank you to the guys at Driver Motorsports. That was a lot of fun. Definitely add Get on a Dyno to your bucket list. With all the data collection and reviews and number crunching, this video actually took a good bit of effort to make. If you appreciate that, I would appreciate a like or a subscribe. And thanks for watching. First autocross of 2020 is on Sunday. Wish me luck. Thanks.